Right, we've reached the time of our forum for final comments. Each of the candidates, we're going to go in order, starting with Colin Peterson. Each will get 2 minutes, and I ask them all to stay on their 2-minute time. Ken Tesey will be keeping time. I'd like to thank our panel today. Kevin Patt, President of the Minnesota Farm Bureau Federation. Doug Peterson, President of the Minnesota Farmers Union. Sarah Dorning, past President of the Minnesota Agro Women. Tom Magas, President of Minnesota Corn Growers Association. And Bruce Schmoll, President, Minnesota Soybean Growers Association. All right, it's time for our closing comments. 2 minutes exactly for each candidate, and we are going to start on this end and go down the row. We'll start with Congressman Colin Peterson.
Thank you, Tom, and thank the panelists and the audience for being here today. And I think it's been a good discussion, and hopefully we'll give some momentum to encourage some people out in Washington to get this farm bill moving. I'd like to recognize we have Senator Franken with us. He's been patient out there listening. We appreciate you being with us, Senator. Also want to say that Amy Klobuchar, who's going to be here tomorrow, I can't say enough about the good work she did over in the Senate, working with Senator Stabenow, the relationship they've got, helped me get a good relationship established with Debbie Stabenow. And, my colleagues in the House have been complaining about all the bills they're sending over to the Senate. The Senate never moves on them. Sorry, Al. But, here we got a situation where we've got a bipartisan bill in the Senate, passed 65 to 34. Strong bipartisan vote. We in the House passed a strong bipartisan bill, 35 to 11. And we can't get the leadership in the House to put this bill on the floor. John Boehner's a good friend of mine, and we've had discussions about this. I think he wants to get this on the floor. He's just having a lot of reluctance by people in his caucus in the Republican study group. And he's concerned about whether we can pass this. And I think those are valid concerns. But Frank Lucas and I have worked together on this. We believe we can bend off the amendments, we can get the votes to pass this bill, and we need to put this thing on the floor. So it's pretty simple what we need to do here in the short term for agriculture, and that is to take this bipartisan consensus, get it moved through the House, get it in conference committee, get it passed, so we've got a farm policy in place for the next 5 years so people know where they're at. That's the most important thing we need to do right now.
That's Colin Peterson. Next up is Lee Weinberg.
As you can tell, I speak with a different accent. I actually went to high school in Norway, and that's where I picked up the Minnesota accent. When I came back, this is 30 years ago, I met young people with fire in their eyes, steel in their will, and love in their hearts for freedom. I lived the American dream. I managed small and mid-sized company in bioscience and agriculture. Now I look at where we have been for the last 30 years, and I think we have lost much. I meet a generation that's confused of what America is supposed to be. We talk about a drought in agriculture in many fields as we go south. But I'm also reflecting over the fact that we're also experiencing a drought in the American mind. We have forgotten what it means to be strong, to be independent, to look at obstacles to overcome yourself. So I think we are living at a time where it's our calling, our generation's calling, to lift up America in ways we haven't done in 50 years. And that is to bring free enterprise back, empower the people to produce and innovate, make government accountable. It's spending or borrowing 40% of what it's spending. Our American families are collapsing from within. Almost half our taxpayers don't pay federal income tax anymore. These are serious times, also unique times to restore our nation. We need to be more than farmers. We need to be builders of the land. We need to start community by community, state by state, and lift up America for the next generation so they will fall in love with America as well. Thank you.
That's Lee Weinberg. Next up, Mike Obermuller.
Well, I want to say thank you as well to the panelists and to all the folks up here I got to meet today. I learned a lot today, which is kind of nice. You might wonder why a nice young boy from Eagan, Minnesota, pretty suburban area, might show up at Farm Fest. I'll tell you, it's because the 2nd Congressional District has got a lot of farmland in it. I grew up on a little dairy farm. I'm the 2nd oldest of 6 adopted kids. We all had to go out and do chores in the morning before going to school. We all had to make sure that there were chores done when we got back home from football or wrestling or whatever practice might be out there, because the work had to be done. Didn't get to go on a lot of vacations on a dairy farm, and even know this, got to be home to milk those cows. That's the kind of thing that matters to me, and the kind of the things that my mom and dad were teaching me. Important of getting the work done first before you go off and do the fun things that you want to do. That's what I see as the biggest problem we've got right now. Congressman Walz, Congressman Peterson put together a very good farm bill, came out with bipartisan support, worked hard, made concessions on things I suspect they would like to have better things in there that they want, but they can't get, but they made concessions. And it didn't get done because people got in the way of getting it done. And that's really what's wrong out there right now. We got people who their focus is essentially stopping the other person from having success rather than actually getting the work done. And that can't be the case if we're going to be successful going forward. Look, I think Washington is broken right now. I got a lot of respect for the folks who are up there trying to do things, but the Democrats are not doing enough to cut wasteful spending. The Republicans are doing some cutting, but they want to give it away to just a few of us instead of trying to make sure that the system works the way it should for all of us. We've got to do a better job than that, and that's what I want to go do. I live in Dakota County, which has got a lot of diversity. A lot of great local products being, we got sod farms and raspberry farms, and there's turkeys being grown and sold locally as well. The people in my district and in the rural parts of the district care a lot about farm issues and making sure that we've got an actual system that works. But if you send me to Congress, I'm going to make sure that it actually does. I'm Mike Obermiller. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District, and I hope to have a chance to talk to a lot of you after this forum.
Next up is Congressman Tim Walz.
Well, thank you all for taking the time to be here. As I always say, there's lots of places you could be. You chose to be here for a very simple reason. You love your country and you understand that democracy doesn't just come with privileges, it comes with responsibility, being educated on the issue. I want to thank my 2 opponents being here. I think some of you know I was a high school lunchroom supervisor for 20 years. I am proud of you guys today, very proud. This is the way it should be. And I have to tell you, and I will say this too, Alan has been talking about the national debt. He's doing a great service doing that. This is an important issue. The difference is going to be how you attack the problem. How do we make sure, and I heard each of these people say it, everybody up here loves this country. Everybody wants to see us succeed. And as a nation, our strength lies in differences of opinion. But the glue that holds the nation together is compromise. The idea that it's not all for me, I can't get it all, and I'm willing to compromise to make what works. That's been the strength of this nation. Our diversity has been the strength. And I can tell you, the greatest honor, and I wore this nation's uniform for 24 years, the honor of being chosen by my peers to go and speak for them in Washington, I understand from that time in service how I conduct myself on the sacrifices that were made to allow us to self-govern is every bit as important as the policies that are there. We need to respect our neighbors, respect the differences, and I have conducted myself in a manner that has got me a reputation for being bipartisan. We've passed 38 bills out of the House. 5 of them were mine. Never again will a member of Congress be able to trade stocks on information they have that you don't have. I know that should have been done 20 years ago, but it wasn't, and I was able to bring people together. We've passed veterans initiatives that make sure that if you serve this nation and put your life on the line and your family's well-being at stake, every single one of us in the 99% stand with you. I'm honored to have that opportunity. I'll go back and make this thing work, and this country's best days lie ahead of us.
Tim Walz. Final comments now from Mike Parry.
Well, thank you very much, and you know, I'll save it for the debates that Tim and I have after the 15th, and we'll talk about his voting record and what he does when he goes across the Mississippi and changes. He talks a good talk here, but we'll get into that later. Hey, thanks for having us here today. You're right, it's the budget deficit. It's spending more than we take in. That's what this is really all about, and about working with agriculture and about doing the right thing. You know, one thing that we could accomplish, and that one thing is for Congress to take back the power that they've given to bureaucrats. We wouldn't have the issues with the EPA. We wouldn't have the issue with these agencies if congressmen would do their job, vet all of these rules and regulations. publicly, openly, transparently, and then vote on them. Because we can replace the congressman. We can't replace bureaucrats because they're protected. That's what we really need to start looking at, folks. And if you don't think there's a problem in this country, read Senator Lugar's farewell address. Take time to read it, folks. Because, paraphrasing, here's what he said. Our country will fall because we are electing partisan, politic people who have no will or want to work with the other side. That's what's going to help destroy this country. We need to learn how to negotiate to get things done. And we need to work hard on it. We need to bring back statesmen to our Congress.
Mike Parry. And to wrap it up, final comments now from Alan Quist.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone else for coming. This is democracy at its best. And Tom, I especially want to thank you for giving me the last word. That is very much appreciated. I am part of a farm that was settled by my ancestors back in 1858, okay? And I am the beneficiary of people that have worked very, very hard, have served our country, have been successful. I have 10 children, and I have 37 grandchildren, and 4 on the way. That's why I am here, because I want my kids and my grandchildren to have the opportunity to live the American dream as I have, and as my wife and I have. I want them to have the same opportunity. Now, let's get past the political rhetoric and talk the real world. The real world is this discussion is taking place with 2 900-pound gorillas sitting in this tent. And we need to be cognizant of the gorillas. The one is, Kevin Pappas said, is it meat? No, it's not. Kevin, you're quick. 2 900-pound gorillas in the room. The first is the national debt, $16 trillion. We're adding $1.5 trillion a year. Ladies and gentlemen, of the money that we collect at the federal government this year, 20 cents out of every dollar is going to go for interest on the national debt. And that's not for capital expenditures, that's operating. If we don't turn this around, we come back here in 2 years, that's going to be 25 cents out of every dollar is going to go for interest. If we don't turn this around, we come here in 4 years, that's going to be 30 cents on every dollar is going to go for interest on the national debt. Is this acceptable? It is not. We cannot do that. The future of agriculture depends at least as much on our getting our financial house in order as it does in passing a food stamp bill with a farm bill rider. Let's get our financial house in order so our kids have the same opportunity that we have had.
Thank you. Let's have a nice hand for our candidates here at our Congressional Forum here at Farm Fest. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tom Rothman with the Minnesota Farm Network. Have a terrific day.
How about a big round of applause for Tom Rothman here? He did a great job here keeping us all going. And thanks to our panel and everybody. The noon show will be coming right up.